Hello and welcome to episode 72 of Things I've Learned from Barry Harris. And today I thought we would talk about something that Barry just refers to as half step below. So he brings these up from time to time, and I've heard it a million times, and just now or just within the last couple of weeks do they start really, it's like a light bulb went off to see it. So let's just take a look at what he's referring to. If we take just regular C major scale, his idea is you could put a half step below each one of those notes. So B to C, D flat to D, E flat to E, E to F, F sharp to G, G sharp to A sharp to B, B to C. So it would be like which is really beautiful. So now when you do thirds like that, listen how pretty it sounds. Really beautiful. So even if we were just going to say D minor, it's pretty, just for C. Now besides though regular major scale, I started thinking about it for sixth diminished. And when you start thinking about it for sixth diminished, it brings up a lot of things. One thing I was looking at is, and I was talking actually to Thomas Eccles about this. We were discussing it. That's why I figured I'd make this video first before he got to it. So I'm beating him to the punch. But I want to see, I'm curious to see what his take on it is. But this is what I was thinking. Here's our drop two. Now what's interesting about drop two for guitar player or for piano player is and I'll just, the notes are C, G, A, E. So that's our voicing for drop two. Now, what drop two consists of is not just drop two. There's a lot of things in there. For instance, there's two sets of sixths. So the C and the A are a sixth. The G and the E are a sixth. There's a tenth, C and E. And then there's, and I know this is a second, but really it's going to be a third because as we move it further, that happens to be the one spot in the sixth diminished where the third is a second, but you'll see what I mean in a second. So also you could think of it as 2/5. So think about just that for a second, that you could say, so here's the drop two, obviously. Okay, so if you know some of Barry's things on guitar, you already know how to do that. But think about the fact that, do you know how to do this? That would be it in fifths, or even from here. And I'm seeing those because I see the drop two. So I'm just seeing that's the highest two notes of the drop two. See, the ones before were the lowest two notes of the drop two. So all these things are inside that little thing. So you got the sixths, you got tenths and thirds, and then you have fifths, which are beautiful. All that stuff is super important. Now, if you dig even further and we start doing some of those half step below, these are really fascinating because normally what we would do is with borrowed notes, we borrow from either the diminished above or the diminished below. Sometimes we do a combination where we'll do a chord, which is diminished notes with sixth notes. But now this changes the game because this also says, hey, I can do a half step below. So for instance, the first one, I might say, I might do a half step below the first six. So I might say, which is beautiful. Now that one happens to be part of the diminished below, and sometimes it's going to end up that way. But if I say, now this is certainly not, these two notes are certainly not part of the diminished, they're not, this is the diminished below. So if I was going to do that and borrow those two notes, it would be this. That's borrowing the diminished. So now I'm borrowing a half step. It's beautiful. Same thing with the diminished. So here's our diminished. So I'm going to say, I'll borrow this next 6, which would be these two, and then let's see, it would be. So let me try to. How do I'm going to finger that? Now the ones that you can't do, you know, like the ones that you can't do, just separate them. So watch, I'll do something maybe like this. Those are beautiful minor. Let's do minor now. Diminishes will all be the same. Wow, this is really pretty. Oh, sorry about that. Really beautiful. So now, how can we use this kind of stuff? So I was thinking, okay, let's say if we were doing the song Star Eyes, which starts in E flat major, Star Eyes, F minor 7, D da 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 da. So F minor 7 to B flat 7. So the first thing is just the turnaround. So as Barry people, we know F minor 7, Barry thinks of A flat 6. A flat 6 diminished that whole way. So I was thinking, how about we do something on Star Eyes? So maybe. That was just this drop too, with the I did a 10th, and then the thirds in the middle. I could have done this one. Let's try that one. I could really do that better. I'll do it again. So it just shows you, like, that half step below that Barry has been talking about for years, like a light bulb just went on, like, oh yeah, I can really practice a half step below. Now the cool thing about it is, I want to see what Thomas comes up with it. I'm sure he'll make a video on it, and I'm going to harass him about it until he does. But I want to see what everybody else comes up with too, because this is fascinating stuff to me. Previous to this, the things that I would use to borrow would be diminished notes or 6 notes, depending on which chord I am. But part of the scale, I would use only from the scale to borrow. But now, if you think about, hold on a second, I can also borrow half step below things. That brings in a whole new sound. Now, some of them are going to be the same, like I said before, because sometimes the diminish is a half step below for certain notes. But man, that brings in something beautiful. You know, really, really beautiful. The possibilities are endless. Absolutely endless. So even if I did just a basic, let's say C6 drop 3 here. So those notes are E, C, G, A. Now I used to like to borrow, I borrow the A flat for the G here. And then, which is pretty, just like a half step. Those are beautiful to do. But now, maybe I was just borrowing the A flat for the G, but what if I borrow the G flat for the G? Wow. So if I said, that's pretty. I mean, how beautiful is that? How about if I did this? Any of them. How about if I say? And again, some of them are gonna be part of the diminished, like this one is, but this one is not. This is so pretty too. Oh man, some of these are gonna be so nice. So let's see, here's C6. So what if I said just tenths? Yeah, so normally if I were gonna do tenths for the C6 diminished, it would be this. Diminish below to the 6. Diminish below to the 6. Diminish below to the 6. Those are pretty. But what if I just did a half step below? Now I'm doing... Now, it's not much of a difference, but it is, I'm telling you. Wow. 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 So it's just something that I'm really starting to discover now. Here's a G minor 6, but really like if I'm playing E half diminished to A7. So let's just see something. Suppose I took these two notes a half step lower. Let's see. So now I got. Wow, that's beautiful. If I could really do it right. Now just imagine using this as part of your overall repertoire, where this is just things that you can just do comfortably, you know, within a scale, within a chord movement, within a change. I mean, there's just, oh my goodness, there's so many things that you can turn this into. So I'd be curious to see what all of you come up with too, with your half step below things, because they are really pretty. Now I know half step above, I don't know why I don't find them as beautiful. I don't know why. I like the half step below is okay, but the half step above, I'm not as sold on those. So I don't know about those per se. And I haven't really heard Barry mention a half step above. But the half step below, after hearing all those things, and I still have to think about it, but I'm sold. I'm sold on those right away. And I was sold the first time I heard it, but all I did was a typical, thing where I just copied Barry's one example of it, and then I tried to put that in, and then that was it. But instead of thinking about the bigger picture of it, which, what does that mean for everything? Not just a regular scale, but for a 6 diminished scale, for minor 6 diminished scale, for dominant 7 diminished scale, for dominant 7/5/5 diminished scale. Man, it's endless, endless. So, okay, I hope you enjoyed this episode about how half step below is so beautiful. Okay, till next time. Thanks.